Hello, welcome. I'm Gail Clutton.
I'm Corey Garrett.
And I'm Dorinda Milam. And we're going to present on class and socioeconomic status for this diversity curriculum professional development. The agenda for our PD includes a PowerPoint presentation, activities, a short break, time to answer any questions you may have at the conclusion of the presentation, and a brief evaluation to provide us with feedback.
In this PD session, research will be presented on the impact that low socioeconomic status has on a student's education. Activities will be conducted in order to engage teachers in meaningful conversations regarding this issue. And the purpose of this PD session is to educate teachers of the impact that poverty has and how they can take measures in their classroom to prevent adverse effects to their students' education.
To better serve students, teachers really need to have a basic understanding of how socioeconomics work and how it can have an impact on the students in their classroom. To help us deliver this message, we have included a short video about the topic. The video was created by UNICEF and it was created in an effort to promote equality in the world.
So as we're discussing the impact of poverty, let's look at students from low socioeconomic families and some of the things that we need to consider as they enter our classrooms. These students typically achieve at levels lower than children from higher socioeconomic status families. They typically enter kindergarten with a lower language skill level. They also score at least 10% lower than the national average for reading and math, which impacts their ability to enter the educational environment on a level playing field.
During our research, we found some quotes from reputable institutions, and one is from the Iris Center, and they stated that research shows that students from low socioeconomic status households face a variety of challenges that can lead to negative educational outcomes. And that is the reason why we're doing this session, is to educate teachers on some of these challenges, therefore to try to stop some of these negative educational outcomes. And then the American Psychological Association also says that research indicates that children from low socioeconomic status households and communities develop academic skills lower than children from higher socioeconomic status groups, which coincides with what Ms. Clutton was just saying.
So we're going to take a break and ask participants at this point to complete a poverty simulation. That'll help them when considering the challenges being faced by families in a poverty situation. So participants will navigate to this website and complete the simulation, which will make them decide answers to questions such as, what job do you want to take? Do you pay for medical insurance or buy groceries? Should you call in sick and take a job strike or possibly lose your job, or send your child to school sick? All of this is overlaid with the question of how much money they have in their budget and how much they have at the end of the month. So the simulation will give you a feel for the decisions that are made, perhaps even on a daily basis, by families facing poverty.
Now that we've created completed our first activity, hopefully you're able to understand some of the struggles that children from low socioeconomic households have to deal with on a daily basis. So some of those challenges are lack of home stability. These students may not know where they're going to go home after school because parents sometimes struggle with paying rent. So they tend to be very transient families, and the students tend to worry about where they're going to be able to sleep. Are they going to have a warm place to be in the evenings during the winter? It's a struggle for these families to remain in a stable living environment. These students and families also have parents that work a lot of hours, and they have to deal with a lot of different circumstances based on the parents having to work so many hours. Some of those include the kids have very little adult supervision outside of the school hours, so they're alone in the evenings. A lot of times these children are having to take on very adult responsibilities, especially when it comes to the older children, taking care of their younger siblings or keeping up with household chores, so that the home is staying clean, or they have to cook for the younger children or themselves. The parents aren't always available to provide academic support in the evening, to monitor homework completion, or to encourage their activities in any type of extracurriculars. Extracurriculars cost extra money a lot of times, so they don't have the money to pay for fees. They don't necessarily have the funds to pay for extra school supplies. So academic support is often lacking in families from low socioeconomic status. They also struggle with poor nutrition and health because healthy food tends to be more expensive, and going to the doctor is expensive. So those tend to be a luxury for these families, because they just can't afford it, and a lot of times their health will suffer. In addition to all of that, these families and the children tend to have a difficulty with getting adequate sleep, because there's a lot of stress that they deal with. So the sleep suffers, which then causes the children to have more struggles at school because they're not rested. Maybe they're irritable and they struggle with interacting with their teachers and peers. So all of these things are just examples of what these students have to deal with outside of school that then impact their performance at school.
Yes, and as Dorinda said, these the home life, the issues at home do end up spilling over and causing issues for some of the children in school. And these are some of the difficulties that these students from low socioeconomic status families could have. They have difficulty concentrating and staying awake and engaged with that, which that relates to what she had mentioned about the lack of sleep, or the few hours of sleep that they get. They also struggle sometimes with attending school regularly, or they may struggle with being at school on time. Sometimes they have difficulty responding appropriately to authority figures. Completing and turning in work can sometimes be a struggle for these students. Bringing materials to class. They have difficulty, if they have the materials, actually getting the materials that they need to and from school. Sometimes they have difficulty communicating with others. This would be communicating with their peers, as well as communicating with teachers, voicing their concerns, letting them know issues that they're having, and sometimes they struggle with that communication. They also could struggle with performing on grade level. Oftentimes they are performing below grade level. And then when you're looking beyond elementary and middle school, that these students sometimes have difficulty just staying in school and then actually graduating.
So now we're asking the question, what are the best practices in the classroom, or now what? So there are several things we can do as teachers. The first thing is to know your students, get to know who they are. We all understand and relate to the importance of being valued and respected. That has such an impact on your confidence and feeling and belonging. Understand too that some students have time poverty because they have to split their time. Like Dorinda was talking about, they might have more responsibilities that they need to do at home. So be aware of their time. Offer flexibility, variety, and choices. engage in a wide range of teaching strategies for different learning styles. Interactive learning is great. Remember to scaffold assessments and scaffold learning. Make expectations for success clear in concise, plain language. Language is a difficulty for our students. Make sure you're communicated in a way that they understand so they know what's expected. As I said earlier, scaffolding student learning. Make sure that they know what they need to know before they move on, because they have started out at a lower rung and may need some help getting to what they need to know before they move on. Be available and approachable. Be that teacher that they want to come talk to, that they're comfortable with, that they know that you respect them, that you respect their value and their contribution to everyone's learning. Just because their vocabulary might not be what you expect it to be, and you think that they haven't had the experiences that other students have, know that they have things to contribute. Reflect on your own actions and constantly seek to improve student learning for all students. Being aware of the impact of poverty on these children will give you an idea, if you reflect back, to improve the way you teach, not only them, but all students.
And a wrap-up activity that we wanted to include is called a privilege walk. And a privilege walk is an activity that includes statements that can help demonstrate a variety of differences within any group, a group that maybe you spend time with every day. This activity can show you and help you understand what type of background your coworkers, or if you're using it in the classroom, what the different classmates, what maybe they may be dealing with or have had to deal with in their life. So for this professional development, the questions that are included focus on the idea that different classes have different life experiences that have a wide range of differences. So to complete this activity, everyone starts in a line, shoulder to shoulder, everyone is equal. But then as questions are asked, participants either take a step forward if the statement is true for them and their life experiences, or they take a step back if this statement is false. Some of the questions include, what was the language that you learned to begin with? Was it English? Or did your parents graduate from college? Or did your family have health insurance? So these types of questions help you understand the difference between life experiences and the types of challenges that perhaps others have had to overcome to be at the same place that you are in this moment. This activity has a tendency to promote feelings of empathy and compassion towards others, and to maybe put on a different lens when you're dealing with students that perhaps are having a difficult life experience and challenges within their family because of their socioeconomic status. This activity can be used within a classroom setting. It can be used as like a team building activity with athletic teams, and it can be used with adults in this, just as it's being used in this situation. It's very adaptable, and a lot of growth can come from participating in this activity.
Once we've completed the activity, we'll bring everybody back together. Before the session is ended, we'll ask the participants to complete an evaluation form and reflect on what they've learned. The idea of going back and looking at how much money they were left over on the challenge, where they ended up on that line, how they felt about where they ended up on that line, and then some rating scales from 1 to 5 with how much they learned and what things they might ask for improvements.
As you can tell, we received and gained a lot of knowledge on how the socioeconomic status of a student can affect their education. We have had some very meaningful conversations about this as well, and spoke of some things that we've seen in students that we share. We appreciate you spending time with us as we go over this with you, the socioeconomic lesson and PD that we would like to present. If you have any questions, feel free to contact any of us, and we thank you for your time.